Well, you get the dreaded call from the realtor. We need to allow the home inspector to come in and do his inspection so he can get his report ready. My name is Richard, and as a homeowner, what should I expect? Does this describe you? See, instantly your mind races. Hopefully they won't find something major. Or, great, it will probably cause problems with the sale of our home. What do they look at? What will they test? Could I check things first to make the repairs in advance? Because on this channel we are focused primarily on the electrical part, let's interview an electrical contractor and a home inspector. I was able to get both of these to agree for an interview. So let's do that now. First, let's talk to Richard. He's a local electrical contractor. And Richard, could you tell us your experience first of all as an electrician?
Oh, gladly.
Introduce myself. I'm Richard. Happens to be the same name as yours. And I have over 40 years experience as a master electrician. And throughout those years, I've literally had thousands of inspections performed on my jobs. Now also, I've had to assist many electrical issues and make many repairs that could have been avoided if the homeowner knew how to repair the particular problem he was facing. If he just knew what to look for. Thank you, Richard. We will ask you what some of these things could be in a minute. Now, let's introduce to you the home inspector. Now, ironically, his name is also Richard. So, Richard, would you tell us your experience? I have over 20 years as a licensed master home inspector. Now, I've inspected hundreds of homes and have found some very scary problems with homes. Many times the homeowners are unaware of some of the issues we find. And because we are focused at this time strictly on the electrical, I will save other concerns for a future home inspection channel. Now, as a home inspector, I find many of the problems could have been fixed before they were entered into the inspection report. Now, this definitely would save you, Richard, as a homeowner, added stress. Let me tell you of a situation I frequently found. It all started, excuse me for a moment, Richard. He's a good inspector, but he really likes to talk. So, Richard, when it comes to a homeowner like myself, could you please tell me what you'd look for first? My approach would be to start from the electrical service. That's the point of location where the power enters into the home. Interesting. That is the same location I would start. So because you're an electrician, what would you look at first? The first thing I check is the ground connection. And I happen to look at the ground clamp. Well, that's awesome. So do I. Can I tell you what I find quite often? Many times the ground clamp is loose or it's even broken. Exactly. Anyway, this is an extremely important connection, which also is easy to repair. See, one cause of the problem that I find quite often is that the ground clamp that is used on the ground rod, a lot of times is actually designed or meant for use on water pipes. And so what happens is with repeated weed eating and lawnmowers bumping up against it, it's either broke or knocked loose. And so what I recommend is that to change that ground clamp, if it's that type, and put in what we call a teardrop ground clamp. And I'll put a picture here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And remember, please, you got to be very careful, because if for some reason this ground wire is loose and it has become energized, see, you can get shocked, possibly even electrocuted. So I would recommend just putting on a good pair of leather gloves and take your little meter and check it to see if there's voltage across it from the ground wire to the ground rod, if that happens to be broke loose. And if there's voltage on it, see, that's a sign that you probably have some other issues going on that could be serious. So at that moment, it may be best to call a qualified electrician just to help you out to make sure that it's safe. And I will address that on another video when I don't have the inspector breathing down my neck. Actually, I followed you quite well. Looking forward to your next video. Can I say what I would check next? Sure. I would now look for any signs of breakers getting hot. Now, as an inspector, I use an infrared sensor and I move it over the breakers to read for signs of possible overheating. Now, as a homeowner, you may not have a meter like this. So Richard, as a homeowner, see, you can try this simple test. Before you remove any covers, just gently put your hand on the back of the breakers to test to see if there's any heat. Richard, would you show him what I'm talking about? Okay. I have to admit, Mr. Inspector, that's a new one on me, but I like it. Thanks. And you can call me Richard. By doing this simple test, you can sometimes help to identify a problem with a breaker. Perhaps it's overheating or what if there's a problem. The next thing I do is I remove the panel cover. Now then I give a visual inspection. So I to look at all the connections. And a problem that I see quite often is double tap breakers or oversized breakers. And as an inspector, now I don't want to touch these. I write them in my report because these are considered as dangerous or safety hazard items. So in my report, I will recommend a qualified electrician to repair. I also do the same thing with other inspections that I'm inspecting on the electrical, for example, the sub panels. Hold on, Richard. You use terms I'm not sure what they mean. Let's see. One was, you used the term double tap breakers. Another one was oversized breakers. A sub panel. What do you mean by these terms? Your first question was double tap breakers. A double tap breaker is one that has more than one wire under the breaker screw, especially if it's not designed for it. As you see in this photo, do you see how this was done? See, when someone has installed wires like this, it causes poor and weak connections. And when that happens, it causes the breaker or the connected wire to get hot. And soon the breaker, as you see in the photo, see, it could actually start to burn. And it becomes very dangerous. So I will give you a copy in one of my next videos of how to repair this type of issue. It can be done safely and easily. So Richard, what was your next question? What did the inspector mean when he said he looked for oversized breakers? I thought something being bigger or stronger would make it better. Interesting. I see how someone may think they are making something better when in reality they're creating a potential fire hazard. See, the reason why is because a wire feeding an electrical circuit can only handle a certain amount of load. See, I will post a video to help homeowners to determine if that has been done. Now, I received numerous calls asking if it's okay because the breaker keeps tripping just to install a larger breaker. Would that fix the problem? Well, the answer is a definite no. Thanks. I look forward to that video. Now, the other term he used was something called a sub panel. A sub panel is another panel that is located away from the main electrical panel. Let's now address another common problem. GFCI outlets. See, first, Richard, what can you tell me about GFCI receptacles? GFCI receptacles, which stands for ground fault circuit interrupter, these receptacles are required in bathrooms, garages, crawl spaces, basements, laundry rooms, and areas where a water source is present. So this is a real simple but important step that I take. I use a simple tester, and I will show you it here, that plugs into a regular outlet. And it tells me if it is wired correctly, and it has a button to test, the GFCI. So as an inspector, I always test these outlets. And as a homeowner, I recommend that you check all of these and repair any that are not working or install one that may be missing. Now Richard, he said that he will soon post a video on proper wiring and how to add one of them. When you have a home inspector coming to look at your home, such as myself, remember that my first concern is safety of the occupants. And then of course we worry about the home, the structure. And since electrical is one of the most dangerous, we look the system over as close as we visually can. It's also important to remember that we are not doing a code inspection. And the reason why is that the code changes on a regular basis, and most existing homes have items that now at this time are not code compliant. Now what Richard just said could be a challenge for an electrician like myself. But what could help you, just as it helps me, is to think about, could you or someone else get hurt? See, and if you're thinking in advance of a possible hazard, you fix it. And in my case, when I think and work like this, I usually am already doing the things that need to be done according to the code. And even when there's a code change, I've already been doing it. And it doesn't surprise me. I think I get what you're saying. If I primarily focus on safety, then I fix any of those concerns, then most of the problems could be solved before the dreaded inspector shows up. Sorry. No offense taken. So let me give you a simple checklist. And I'm going to show you this list. And if you look in the description box, I'll have Richard, he'll post that in there so you can see what it is. But this simple checklist tells you things to do. Thanks for the list. I will just take a day and go through each one of those and correct them as I find them. That's a good idea, thank you. And if you do it, it definitely will make you feel better when I show up. Plus, you know that your home will be a lot safer for yourself and the next homeowners. Thank you, Richard. You know, as an inspector, you're all right. And Richard, see, as a homeowner, all the items that are on that list can be repaired safely by yourself in advance, which can save you a lot of money. Thank you guys for your help. And because I'm going to be able to save a bunch of money, how about if I take you guys for a cup of coffee? Thank you, Richards. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like buttons. See, this helps us get more content like this out to help others like you. And thanks again. And please tell others about our channel. We'll see you soon.